Hello, everyone. This is Justin Smythe from nextbigtrade.com. This is your weekly sector review for March 8th, 2024. Starting off with semiconductors, big reversal this week on very massive volume. Obviously, this is the heaviest weekly volume since 2022. And one thing that I want you to take note of is taking a look at the volume at the end of October 2023, where semiconductors came out of a correction, and the volume in October 2022, where semiconductors started to come out of the bear market in 2022. These were major turning points in the trend of the semiconductors, and the same thing could be happening now in terms of making a major top, where big volume is coming in at a key turning point, and we're seeing a reversal candle where price makes a high during the week and then reverses lower by the end of the week, where sellers start to take control again. So semiconductors remain extremely stretched from key moving averages after a major advance, and they're vulnerable to a major correction now. And this major volume, again, is a warning sign that the institutions are starting to sell and take profits at the end of a major uptrend. And I want to dive into NVIDIA because obviously this is the most important stock in the stock market. This is really what's powered the market higher in 2024. NVIDIA broke out on big volume out of a basing pattern, in early 2024, had a major stage 2 advance above the 10-week moving average. And then now we're seeing big volume this week with a major reversal candle. So again, this is a type of a topping candlestick pattern that happens after major advances, and NVIDIA remains extremely stretched from key moving averages. We'll jump down to the daily chart first of NVIDIA and look at the reversal on Friday on massive sell volume. This engulfed two daily candlesticks. NVIDIA actually sold down to around 850 after hours, which is already a 10% decline off of the highs of the day on Friday. And what's going to need to happen with NVIDIA heading into next week is we're going to need to see big volume come in if this stock is going to remain, moving higher. Otherwise, sellers have really made a big stand here with this major selling volume, and it's likely NVIDIA might thrash a little bit more before it starts to correct down, and move into a major correction. Looking at that long-term chart of NVIDIA, I want to emphasize going back and looking at history. Basically, no stocks of this size have ever become this overbought. NVIDIA is over 50% above its 30-week moving average and is one of the biggest companies in the entire stock market. Typically, companies of this size have an extremely hard time getting this overbought because it takes so much buying pressure to move them higher. So the amount of money that's concentrated in NVIDIA right now is truly kind of staggering at this point. This stock has really powered this entire market higher, but is extremely vulnerable to major selling pressure now as institutions are going to want to take profits and move out of the stock. And again, if you look back at the last 20 years across a lot of mega cap stocks, none of them have ever become this overbought. So this is really a rare thing that's happened here where, one of the biggest companies in the stock market basically went into a major top, and now we're going to see what happens when it goes into a major correction. Turning to the gold market, gold is in the exact opposite position of the stock market, where gold broke out last week with no overhead resistance and is moving into stage 2. Gold followed up this week with heavy volume to the upside, and you know, gold is basically in a new stage to advance here with no overhead resistance. So gold is looking really good. Gold is really the best sector in the stock market right now, and gold is very close to starting to outperform the S&P 500 now, where it had underperformed the S&P 500 for about a year after the 2023 move higher. Silver has started to join gold this week, breaking above the 30-week moving average. Big increase in volume here. This is what you want to see on a stage 2 breakout. Silver has a little bit of more overhead resistance, but once it clears this overhead resistance, silver should be in position to continue this major advance higher. And the precious metals mining stocks took heavy volume as well this week. So volume was really the key missing ingredient to the precious metals breaking out of this basing pattern. And we're finally starting to see it here with big volume coming into GDX as well. You can see we haven't seen volume like this in the gold stocks since March 2023, where that was the last time the gold stocks had a multi-week advance higher. Now, looking at the US dollar is also contributing to the precious metals starting to turn higher. The US dollar started to break below the 30-week moving average this week. The US dollar moving into stage 4 was one of the things we've been looking for all year, as the US dollar has been in stage 3 for quite a while now. Now, the caveat to perhaps seeing the US dollar moving immediate lower here is that if the stock market does go into a correction, it's possible that the US dollar might move back a little bit higher, consolidate more before resuming a downtrend. I think that's a good possibility given the fact that there might be a flight to safety out of stocks if we're heading into a stock market correction. So that might produce a pullback in gold, but overall, the precious metals are the best looking sector. And if we do get a pullback because of strength in the US dollar, I think it's probably going to be a buying opportunity. Turning to artificial intelligence, with NVIDIA making a major reversal on Friday, the same reversal pattern showed up in the artificial intelligence ETF. And after, moving higher for multiple weeks now, volume was again big on the upside. And again, when volume tends to increase at major turning points, we could be seeing a major top in the artificial intelligence stocks as well. And there's so many divergences in this sector and so many stocks that have failed to follow NVIDIA higher that is a likely outcome as we're seeing a major top again in this sector. The uranium stocks were unable to follow through higher and actually sold off lower on heavy volume. With the stock market coming under pressure, the uranium stocks might need to complete another leg lower, before this correction is over. I think overall this sector still looks pretty well. It's cleared a lot of its overhead resistance, but it might be under pressure if stocks remain under pressure. Copper tends to piggyback a little bit off of gold and could be acting well because of a weak US dollar. The copper ETF broke out on heavy volume this week above resistance. Copper has kind of been in a sideways trading range for quite a while now, but again, with commodities turning higher, if the US dollar does turn lower, this could be another commodity sector to look at as we move further into 2024. Commodities, again, with the US dollar turning lower, commodities are starting to get a bid here, and they've been in stage 1 for multiple months now, going back all the way to mid 2023. So could be seeing a trend change overall for the commodity sector. And then finally, the bond market. The BND ETF, which is actually the largest bond ETF in the stock market, traded its heaviest upside volume in history this week. And again, this could be a sign that money is seeking a flight to safety. We're seeing basically a continuation breakout above the 10-week moving average. And this will decrease pressure on interest rates, but again, could be a flight to safety because of what's occurring in the stock market. So overall, lots of high volume reversals this week, which tend to indicate major turning points. We'll see if that follows through next week. The semiconductors obviously are the big sector to watch, with NVIDIA acting very weak on Friday.